morning. Welcome to the Stock Market Jobber. We got a little intro for you, and then we'll get started. Good morning, everybody. I am Hunter's Pimp. This is the Cable Guy. We're fixing to lead you through the markets and show you exactly what you need to trade today.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good morning. Man, what a hell of a day I had yesterday. So my cable went out. Dude, it's like a Seinfeld episode, right? So it's, I call up and they're like, obviously you don't get a person. And it's just like, welcome to Optimum. Thank you for your loyalty. And then it's like, do you have a problem with internet? Do you have a billing question? And I'm like, I have a problem with my internet. I can't get on. And it's like, okay, type in your code, like your password code. And I'm like, I don't know it. You can find your passcode by logging on to Optimum Online's website. And I'm like, I can't get online. How am I supposed to log on to the website? Then it's just like, oh, I see you have a question about service. Are you calling to schedule an appointment? And it just got to the point where I got so mad. I'm like yelling at it, the computer. My wife's like, so finally, fortunately, I don't live too far from the Optimum store. Hello, Di. Hello, Sean. So fortunately, I don't live too far, so I was able to drive over there. But it's just so friggin' frustrating, man. So I'm switching my service. I pay $300 a month for this thing. The television channels suck. There's like 3 channels I actually watch. The History Channel. There's all the movies are like 30 years old. But it's just unbelievable. And I even said that to the guy when I went over to the store. I'm like, it's like I call up and I say, I can't get online. And they're like, well, you got to get the passcode by logging into our website. So anyway, that was my story with that. And this is the company that owns Optimum, ATUS, Altis. I don't know where this name comes from, but not surprisingly, the stock has been getting crushed. Okay. And we can see some of our principles here, right? We got, and you can see this on pretty much any chart, and every stock is a little different. Look at that. It's only been public since July of 17. So it came public at 35 and now it's at 346. So it's down 90%. Not surprising. But anyway, look at this. Look how clear this is right here. See how resistance here? This is, let's see what level this is here. And I just want to show you all something. I know we usually talk about technicals, but we also talk about fundamentals too sometimes. All right, so we can see we got clear resistance, converts it to support, and this is our seller's remorse, right? People sold and they thought they made a good move, but eventually the price goes higher, and a lot of these people tell themselves, I made a mistake. I'm going to buy my shares back if I get them at the same price I sold them at. So you see this. What was resistance turns it to support. So much of trading has to be about knowing where these certain important price levels are. And I know I talk about it a lot, but, this is what traders do. They look for important price levels. If we were mechanics, we would be working on engines every day, all right? Or, whatever. So we're traders. What do? We look at price levels every day. And I'm just really showing you this as an illustration. It's not really a trading idea. But, look, we got clear resistance. Now, why would there be resistance at a former peak, right? Well, there are people who bought here who are like, man, when the price was lower, they're like, I made a mistake. I want to get out. So seller's remorse can turn resistance into support. Buyer's remorse can make resistance stay intact because there are people who bought up here who tell themselves, man, I made a mistake. I want to get out at break even. So when it gets back up to the level they bought at, they sell. So if you have enough of these sell orders, it keeps the level of resistance. So there's tends to be resistance at former peaks. So now how does this apply to in practicality, right? Well, say you buy something, and I get this question actually a lot. Like, how do I know where to place my price target? And my answer is, well, you let the market tell you where to place your price target. If you buy something and it's going higher and you're wondering where you should sell it, instead of just guessing, Well, if you look into the past and you see, oh, there was resistance at this former price level, and we're getting close to that, maybe that's where I'll put my sell order. Now, let's just say someone bought it down here and they just said to themselves, you know what? If this gets to 40, I'm going to sell it. Right? Well, you're just guessing. Now, maybe it does get to 40, but there's probably a better chance that it gets to resistance at a former peak and just stalls out or rolls over like it did here. So we can see the same thing down here. Actually, this is the opposite. This is another form of buyer's remorse. So people buy here, and then the price goes lower, and they tell themselves, "I made a mistake. I want to get out." So if you have enough remorseful buyers placing sellers, see the price goes lower, and they have a loss, and they tell themselves, "You know what? I made a mistake on this, but I don't want to lose any money." So you have these remorseful buyers placing sell orders at the same level that was support. So support can turn into resistance. And you don't need to be a chart guru or a former hedge fund trader to see that. I mean, look, it's pretty darn clear that this specific level became resistance here to within points. And this is really kind of something people take for granted. But how is it that this company, I mean, think about like people that talk about valuations and price to earnings ratios. How is it that this particular stock or this company increased 31% in value from between October 12th and November 1st? This thing increased by 31% of market value or in valuation. You can't explain that unless you understand that. Unless you understand that charts are showing psychology and the vast majority of price moves are based on investor perceptions, you just can't understand this. You can't say, well, oh, the price to earnings ratio is here, or, this was interest rates. The vast majority of moves in stocks are not because of what they're telling you on CNBC or Fox Business News, or Fox Business News tends to kind of be the worst, I think. It's like, every little move, the market could be up 2 points, and it's like, oh, President Biden said this, and oh, the market liked it, and now it's up 2 points. People don't sit around tables or have conferences and saying like, oh well, let's put on CNBC and there's some news, so we're going to go sell or we're going to go buy. It's just not how it works in the real world. Now, one of the things we can do if you were interested in a company is type in their symbol and then type in IR, and that's investor relations, and that brings us to our investor relations page. So this is my cable company, or the company that owns the cable company. So let's see, what do we got here? News and events, financial results, stock snapshot, earnings release. All right, let's take a look at I like looking at these presentations. Now, sometimes you can tell a lot about a company not by what's in the presentation, but what's not in the presentation. My experience has been this: if a company is doing really well, if their margins are increasing, if they're earning more money, they're going to put that right up front. If a company's not doing well, they tend to stash that in the back of the presentation or not even put it in there at all. Some of these cannabis companies that we look at, like, they don't even put the numbers in the report. So we go through here. Obviously, you got your disclaimer, and then so here we got all this stuff: accelerating the strategy, blah blah blah. Nothing on here about like, oh, here's our earnings. They're increasing, they're decreasing. They got this revenues here and their EBITDA numbers, but you don't really have a comparison. Then you got this. Now, maybe someone out there can help me with this. Why do they have a goat in their presentation? I don't know. I almost feel like I should call them up and being like, why do you guys have a goat on your presentation?
Yeah, all that other stuff and then a goat.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Greatest of all time? They're certainly not.
Guys, this is a good tip from Mark. You'll notice in the front of a lot of these good companies, their earnings will be right at the beginning, but a lot of these bad companies will have a management letter and a bunch of fluff before you ever get to the earnings. So that's how you can tell, just at a glance.
Yeah, I don't get why there's a goat here. I just really, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little bit hung up on this, but I don't know why they have a goat in their presentation. I can't figure that out. So if anyone has any insight, please let me know.
All right, I'm gonna make a mental note to never use a goat in stock market job or design.
It's just so weird. I mean, it's a cable company. It's not like a farm company or an agricultural company.
Right, right.
I just don't get it. I really
Be like
don't.
a natural gas company having a windmill for a damn
Yeah,
for a mascot.
yeah. But at least that's the same industry as energy. Like,
Right,
what
right,
the
right.
heck is
It's
this?
still industry.
It's like a natural gas company, and they have a picture of like a rabbit. You know.
You're right. Right.
All right, driving operational improvement, fewer truck rolls. Like I don't even know what is a truck roll? Oh, I guess that's when they come out to see you. Less visits, and 49% increase in self-sales. So it's like, where are the numbers? Where are the earnings? Okay, here we go. No earnings. Oh, revenue and expenses, trends, margin trends. Okay, so we're finally getting into this. So let's look at this here. Margin trends. I mean, it looks to me like the margins are trending lower. But anyway, that's just a little bit of an aside that oh, here we go. So look at this summary financial information. So this presentation is 17 pages long, and you don't see the numbers until you get to page 16. So you don't even need to be like Warren Buffett, or have a really deep understanding of reading financial statements and so forth and so on to understand that, like, oh, sums up here. If these numbers were good, this would be like on the first page of the presentation. So look at this. Adjusted, their margins are decreasing. The total revenue is down, and they're going to be getting $300 a month less from me because I'm canceling them. Then go with Frontier. Look at this. Wow, margins are decreasing. This is free cash flow. A margin is the most important margin is operating margin, and they don't even have that here. I guess maybe this is it. Operating free cash flow. Your income margin shows you how much money you're making after every dollar of sales, after all your expenses are taken into account. So if you have an operating margin of 10%, every dollar sales you actually make 10 cents. If it's 15%, you make 15 cents. What a lot of fundamental managers do is they look for trends. Are the margins improving? Are they getting better? And if the operating margin is increasing, what that tells us is that the company is becoming more efficient. So sometimes you can have an increase in revenue, but the margins are decreasing. So even though the company is getting bigger, it's becoming less efficient. So now this is pretty bad here, actually. I mean, I don't want to really pick on this company, although I probably should because they put me through such hell yesterday. Um, but look at this; everything is decreasing. Their margins are down. This is a big move for your
That is a
margins to
lot of
go down
money.
14%.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So this just shows you this company is becoming less profitable. Um, all right. Anyway, let's go look at the markets because things look pretty weak this morning. And again, I'm not surprised. I suspect the market will keep going lower. And one of the main reasons why I think that, and what I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks or so, is this AAII sentiment survey, right? This is like this free website, which is pretty cool. Actually, it's very cool. I like sentiment. That's probably my favorite subject in the market. But here's the thing: if you get a really high percentage of bullish investors, what does that mean? It might sound like you might be saying, like, "Oh, Mark, everyone I know is bullish. That's a good sign." Well, it's actually not, because if the vast majority of investors are bullish, what do? They invest their money. And when they're done investing, the market runs out of buyers. And when the market runs out of buyers, the only place it can go is lower. So we got up to 51% back on July 19th, and now we're back up to 49% as of this week. Or last week. These are high numbers. In the last 30 years, we've only gotten above 50% a handful of times, maybe like 10 times. And probably 9 of those times were followed with fairly big sell offs. And the one that wasn't, it didn't sell off, but the market had stopped going higher. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing some weakness here. I obviously didn't look at the markets yesterday because I was too busy running back and forth from here to the Optimum Online store. Um, But anyway, here's our S&P. Down fairly big this morning, 83 basis points. That's a pretty big move. So I would say we're decisively getting below this important 450 level. So this is where let me just put that on there. So this is where we are this morning, like right down there. I'm going to make this red. Yeah. All right. Well, my guess is we get down to 443, another 4 points or so, which might not sound like a lot, but it's about another 80 basis points. So we get down there and we'll probably get a little bit of a bounce. And that's because, look at this, we have a level that was resistance. So what I'm looking for is levels that had previously been peaks or previously had been bottoms. Those are the price levels that tend to be important. I mean, we can even see this here, right? Look at this. So here, back in August of last year, we ran into resistance right around 431. And then here in June, after a sell-off, we find support right around that same price level. So this is what we call market memory. Now, how is it that the S&P had the same exact valuation back here as it did here? You know, think of what's changed. Oil prices are different, interest rates are different. You know, pretty much everything is different. But yet somehow we find support at a former resistance level. I think it's almost, not almost, but I think it's definitely a good idea to just kind of turn off the news and ignore the media, because they try to put every little thing in, like, oh, well, the market's down because of this, the market's up because of that. I mean, maybe some retail investors or some old guys that think that they can turn 20 grand into $1 million by listening to Kramer, you know, maybe they sit at home and base their trading on what they're talking about. But in the institutional world, it just doesn't happen. I mean, no one watches CNBC. I mean, in my trading desks, I wouldn't even have that on. We'd be watching golf or the History Channel when things were slow. So importantly, even though we had a little bit of a move up yesterday, if we go to our technology sector, look at this. This didn't move up at all. This is just in a total downtrend here. So here we have a perfect example of our levels. That this chart right here, it's like I could probably spend all day talking about this. Resistance back in December of 21 became resistance in June of 23. How is that possible? How is this sector that's worth trillions and trillions of dollars have the exact same valuation back here as it did here? And if you don't look at this through the context of psychology, like I always say, you're just not going to understand it. But we know that there are people who bought back here who regret buying, and when the market gets back up to their level, they want to get out. So if you have enough remorseful buyers placing sell orders, what was resistance can turn into resistance again. Now we have an example here of what was resistance turns into support. And we can see that down here. Resistance becomes support. Resistance becomes support. Resistance becomes support. Resistance becomes support. So resistance became support, but then the support got broken. Now we get resistance turning into support because of seller's remorse. That's a characteristic of a market that's moving higher. When that dynamic, I guess, or phenomena, for lack of a better term, stops happening, it's the characteristic of a market top. So resistance became support, but then the support failed. All right. And this is a pretty big move lower here, 90 basis points. So this is why I think that the market was going to move lower, and it has been. And, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back here. And a lot of times people say to me, oh, you know, how do you make such all these accurate market calls, blah, blah, blah. And my answer is, well, I don't, you know, I just let the market tell me what to do. You can just and how does the market talk to you? The market talks to you by how it acts when it gets to these certain price levels. So weakness in the tech sector, weakness here. Let's go look at our healthcare sector, and let's try to go. I'm going to try to go through all the sectors this morning, because usually we just go through the big ones. All right, so healthcare, where did we find support? At the level that was resistance, right? It's like drum roll, looking up a little bit this morning. So I guess this is what powered the market yesterday, and the financials were up pretty good. But now just think about this, right? We talked about, if this support level breaks, let's think about some short ideas, and we thought about UNH. Now, clearly, the support didn't break, and we got a rebound. Well, why would there be a rebound off of support? What is support? Support is a large group of investors who are looking to pay the same price or around the same price. So they're watching the market go lower, and then all of a sudden they notice, oh, the market's not going lower anymore. That means there must be new buyers coming into the market. Markets go lower because there's more supply than there is demand, or there's more sellers or shares for sale than there are to buy. So sellers have to offer their shares out at a discount, and this forces a downtrend. Now, we talked about UNH as a potential short idea, and let me look at that.
Mark, Heather was texting this morning about Lilly and NVO were causing a run in healthcare.
Which one?
Lilly and NVO.
Well, I didn't hear from Heather. She texted you?
Yeah, we've got a group.
Oh, well, hey, thanks for the invite.
Well, you can get in the group if you'd like. I'm sure they'd let you in.
Well, I talked about potentially getting a short idea or buying the puts in UNH if we got below this $500 level. Well, guess what? We never got below the $500 level, so I wouldn't have entered the position. If you just think like, oh, the healthcare sector is at support, I think it's going to go lower. Well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. In this case, it didn't. This is why you wait for the reversal to actually start before you get in. You're never going to get the exact high price or the exact low price. So you might as well just forget about that. Trading is not about being precise or being accurate. It's about making money. So here, the idea would be like, all right, if we get below 500, there's a good chance that we go lower. We didn't get below 500, so I never would have taken the position. But the idea is still the same. If healthcare reverses and we get below it, then we could potentially jump in. So I think a good idea is, in most trading models have different components, right? And in general, you have what you call a setup, a trigger, and then an exit strategy. So your setup is like if you're in a race. Oh, by the way, $1.5 billion in the Mega Millions or whatever it is. So
Hey,
if I'm not here tomorrow, I won.
Y'all put in your lottery numbers into the chat.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go buy some tickets. And this just shows you the illogic of people, right? If people thought about money logically, lotteries wouldn't exist. Like, I'm going to go buy some tickets, but I know I'm not going to win. I mean,
freaking world traveler here. Steve's been all over Asia.
Wow. Cool. I don't even know where that is.
Dude, that's like one of the most beautiful cities in the world, is it not, Steve?
What country is it?
Malaysia.
Huh. Yeah, I've never been over there. Yeah, no, I've never been to Asia. Been to Europe, went to Italy, went to Rome. That was cool. Went to Amsterdam, or Amsterdamage, as me and my friends called it.
I've been to Amsterdam a few times.
Amsterdam's a beautiful city.
It really is. You know what is really challenging though is when every canal, it looks the same. So when you walk over a canal, you actually look onto the same street, and all the streets, when you're American, you don't know how to say the word, just Strasse. But so like I parked my car and walked around for like 3 hours trying to find my car, come back, they had booted me. Then I had to walk like another 17 blocks to pay for the boot to get removed, wait for them to come get the boot. It was a long trip the last time, but I had a good time every time I went.
I just remember going into this hash bar, and all they had was like, all you hear is this friggin' techno club music. And it just was driving me crazy. So we found this one place. They had like 100 CDs in their machine, and there was one Jimi Hendrix CD. So we just played the Jimi Hendrix CD over and over, like all night. Yeah, Brandy's been to
Amsterdam. Brandy's been to Amsterdam. Well, glad to go. Maybe we'll have a stock market jobber reunion there, Brandy.
That would be quite interesting. Quite interesting. All right. Anyway, what do we got here? So just to kind of reiterate, look, we got price levels. Here's our support. We get down to support and we bounce. We get to support levels and we bounce. We get to resistance levels and we tend to sell off. This is because of, you guessed it, psychology. There are investors who want to buy and they notice the price isn't going any lower, and they start to think, oh, gee, there must be other buyers coming into the market, because the markets go lower if there's not enough buyers. So now we're not going lower. That must mean there are new buyers coming in. Oh, I better raise the price I'm willing to pay because the sellers are going to go to whoever is willing to pay the highest price. So you get these buyers outbidding each other and they cut in front of each other. And this is why when we get to support, we tend to bounce. It's because of this psychological effect of anxious buyers. The opposite is true when you get to resistance. Resistance is people who want to sell, and the sellers notice the price isn't going any higher. Markets go higher because there's not enough sellers or supply. So the sellers start to think, gee, I better reduce the price I'm willing to sell at because the buyers are going to go to who's ever willing to sell at the lowest price. So you get these sellers start undercutting. So you get these sellers, they start undercutting each other. And as a result, you get to resistance and we sell off. So, you want to learn how to trade. Well, if you know where the price levels are, you get an idea of where things are going to turn. All right, let's go look at our financial sector. Now I see Moody's downgraded a bunch of the banks this morning. And let's see. 88%. Did they put out the updated one, Brandy? You said the guy was going to put out a new one. But you know what? Even if you have a model that works, you still got to have the psychology because no model is going to work forever.
Absolutely.
It might. Wow, this is a big move in financials, down 1.2%. Yeah, sometimes, like there's a saying on Wall Street, like it works until it doesn't, right? So sometimes, for whatever reason, a particular model is successful, but even though the model is successful, you still have to stick to it, and that's where people have issues, right? Because they start to second guess themselves. Oh, my model says to sell it if it gets to this level. And it's like, all right, well, when you got real money on the line and something's going up, you might be tempted to get out before because your psychology could overcome the logical part of your mind, and your emotions make you get out too early. But anyway, look at this. So we got to resistance here. We got a little bit of a rebound, but we're failing now. So this is a pretty big move lower for this sector. So we're trading now like we're right about there. Do you mind sending me that link, dude? Because I'd like to check it out, just to kind of see what they're doing. All right. Anyway, so big move down here, but again, we could see here support became resistance. All right, consumer discretionary sector. Okay, cool. I would appreciate that. I got to go to the eye doctor today. Get new contact lenses.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pain. That's another thing that's a pain in the ass too.
I tell you, the expense of glasses has gotten so bad, man. The contact lenses are ridiculous. My kids are like $300 a prescription, and they're just throwaways. It's crazy.
Yeah, I kind of don't like going to this eye doctor. I got to find out. You know how sometimes like you walk into a place and you could just tell that people don't want to be there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could just tell, like, they're like no one's in a good mood, and I don't know. The eye doctor himself seems like he's really cool, but a lot of people that work there, it's like, man, they don't want to be there. But anyway, whatever. I'm sure you guys don't really care about my eye doctor appointment. But look, resistance here became support here. Support became resistance. Now, where are we this morning? So this is down about 1.2%. So this is a pretty big move as well. Next, we got okay, cool. Thanks, Brady. Industrials, you see we've rolling over here. Here's our trend line. Now, a trend line is not like a support level or a resistance level. A trend line is what I like to say. A trend line is like a graphical illustration of it. It just kind of helps you see if a price is or if the trend is changing. So when we're going up, we're going up. Think about how a chart is recorded, right? You just put the prices on. But if something is going up, what's the first thing it needs to do before it starts to go down? And the answer is it needs to stop going up. So when the prices start to go sideways, think about the old days. If you were doing your charts by hand, all of a sudden we got a bunch of days where we're not going up anymore, and we end up crossing over the trend line. So this is like a signal. Oh, hey, it's not going up anymore. I mean, after you've been doing this for a while, you don't even really need to put trend lines on your charts anymore. But I think it's a really good thing to do when you're kind of starting out, because it just makes it easier to look at. And so, like, look at this, right? How do you know the trend is changing? Pretend this trend line wasn't here. So let's just minimize this. Well, the closing price here is lower than the prices here. The prices here are lower than the prices there. So things are starting to change. Now this looks pretty weak too. This is also down 1%. Wow. There's a lot of weakness in the market today.
Yeah. Well, Burt B ran a lot yesterday, so I'm sure there's going to be some profit taking from it.
Which one?
Burke B. That's why the financials are down today, I would think. Berkshire Hathaway B.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, see, they're down $4 this morning.
Yeah, now look at this. Wow. Yeah. I mean, look at this, right? Where did this thing run into resistance? Right at a former peak.
Yeah.
Right. So if you were trading this and you had bought it and you were thinking about, oh, where should I sell? Oh, we got to a former peak. There's a good chance there's going to be resistance there. Hey, Kyle, how are you, dude? Anyway, yeah, so not surprising we hit resistance there. And that looks like it's pretty overbought. I'm just kind of looking here at their momentum indicators. Let's see what they're attributing this to. Stock index futures plunge as China trade data disappoints. Moody's downgrades the U.S. banks. All right, so what is next? I guess we can look at our consumer staples.
Hey, let's look at Lilly and NVO too.
Oops, LLY. All right,
Okay.
so let's go.
She may have miscalled that one. Well, no.
Oh, no. Look at that. It's up 9%.
Holy shit.
What's going on here?
And she said NVO was the other one as well.
Monjura. Oh, okay. Well, they had earnings.
Right. So Lilly ran sympathetically, I believe.
No, Lilly reported. Or it looks like Eli Lilly raises forecast as diabetes drug Monjaro powers upbeat results. Jardiance. These weight loss drugs are the new craze, and I know that they work, but they also have side effects. They NVO is the other one?
NVO, yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but Heather was right on this.
Dude, she's a sniper. I'm telling you, man. She knows her shit.
Yeah.
There's $20 right there, 24. No, Brandy, sorry. It's once you do it, it's in the ether. You're out there forever. That's why Hunter should have never took those pictures of my hose.
Anyway, yeah, so this stuff works, but there are side effects, like thyroid cancer is one of them. I mean, and the other thing too is you got to take it for the rest of your life. If you stop taking it, you put the weight back on. Is my understanding. So I don't know. Of course, if it sounds too good to be true, it may be.
Usually.
Yeah, my doctor, I'll tell you a story. Like my doctor gave me a prescription of it because I need to lose some weight, but I'm just going to try to not eat carbs and exercise more because I definitely don't exercise as much as I used to. Big part of that
the key, my friend.
Is poor Clifford, right? We used to go for 5-6 mile hikes, no problem. Now we go about a half a mile or a mile, and he really starts to get worn out. But anyway, yeah. So when I got it, I only took one round of it, and I did lose like 20 pounds. But if you're not a diabetic, they're not supposed to subscribe it to you. And I'm not a diabetic. So anyway, the guy's like, oh, here's a place you can get it from. And it was this place down in Louisville. And I get the bill and it's from a golf shop. So it's like a front, right?
They
like
slinging Ozempic out the golf shop.
They're probably selling the stuff out the back door illegally.
Well, have you heard yet about the biolabs in California, the Chinese testing facilities?
Nah.
Man, I'm going to have to get that video and send it to you. It was out again. I was watching Kevin McCarthy address it today. It was in Stallwell's district too, which is just another beautiful thing. Seems like the governor gave the company $360,000 from California's budget to set up shop in an abandoned firehouse.
Isn't he the guy that was having the affair with the Chinese spy? Like, what's her name?
Fin or Fang Fang was her name. I can't remember what they call her. Yum Yum. Yum Yum is what the one guy calls her.
So you can't even make this stuff up, man.
No, you cannot. And well, you had Feinstein's driver for 20 years was a Chinese spy. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else do you need to know that that's really not your friend?
Yeah, you got to wonder if we're doing the same stuff in other countries. But,
listen, Mark, I'm telling you, this thing in Niger blew my mind. I did not expect to see this, but they were waving Russian flags. And when you see the other countries come out and start talking about it, they're all wanting France and America out of Africa. And that's why it's really going to be a big hit to the industrials, because that's where all the mining metals come from.
Interesting. Let's look at this. XME is the mining ETF. Metals and mining.
And it was supposed to really affect uranium because the United States and France gets most of their uranium from Niger. Well, not most of it. Like that's their supplement. Well, there was a coup there, but then the people rose up and decided they were tired of being taken advantage of by France. And then come to find out that we have soldiers there as well with guarding our companies. And they're training the military. The military's been trained by Americans, and the military told them to get out.
Huh. Interesting.
And they've started flying Russian flags.
All right. Well, I'm glad I don't live there. Yeah. So this is a uranium company here. Uranium Energy doesn't really look like it's affected the stock price. Well,
it's new news though. It's new news, so it may take a couple days.
Yeah. All right. Let's just kind of finish up with these sectors here. So let's go back to XLP, consumer staples. Right. So we break out. Where do we find support as we come back at a level that was resistance? Got a call last night from a friend of mine that I haven't seen in probably 30 years. It was kind of weird, man, just out of the blue.
Really? Was it a good conversation?
Well, we were just texting. I should take that back. Yeah, we were just texting. I didn't call her today. But nice. Yeah, like this girl's father and my grandfather were good friends, and we knew each other from when we were, 2, 3, 4 years old. And then we went to high school together, and then we went to different colleges. But the last time I saw her was right after I got out of college. And yeah, and that was it, like 30 years ago. And, I'm not on Facebook. A lot of people look up their old friends on Facebook, but I hate Facebook.
Facebook's the devil. I hate Facebook, dude. It's such a shitty hole.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so we move higher, we sell off. Where do we find support? At a level that had been resistance. And then we could go look at our utility sector. Wow, look at this. Wow. See, now I haven't looked at this in a couple of days, but look at where we found support right on this line. That was support before. Right? This is the market telling us what to do. Now, this is probably going to be some trades in this sector because we're going to be oversold, and we got to a support level. Markets that are oversold and get to support tend to bounce. So what we can do is we can look within the sector to look for trading ideas. So let's go to XLU, and then we're going to go to the fact sheet, and we're going to look at the holdings. All right, so these are our companies. These are our top 10. If you want to see all of them, you can click on that. So you just type in the symbol of the ETF, the Spider. Spider is Standard & Poor's Depository Receipt. But here we get Nexterra, Southern, Duke, Sempra. Video. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll watch that. Nexterra. Wow, look at that. So this is broken down completely.
Completely.
Now let me think about this. Why would utilities be getting crushed so hard? Interest rates are moving higher, which I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this, but there's something going on in this utility sector. So we got that. We could look at Southern Company. Interesting, but I don't see anything there. Duke, let's see.
Could that be the cost of the coal to maybe produce the energy market?
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you what, that's a pretty freaking dramatic move for
on all of them too.
Let's see. So Duke misses estimates. Milder weather reduces electricity demand.
Well, it ain't milder here, I'm gonna tell you, buddy.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. Let's see. Cooler than normal weather. But I thought it was supposed to be things were hotter than usual.
It was hotter this year. I'm gonna tell you right now, dude. When I walk outside this door, it's a big difference. So that's why we keep it nice and cool in the house. So I don't even know what they're talking about because I've been using my electricity.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's just an example of them trying to make every little thing, every little move based on some kind of fundamental reason, which is just not the way it works. American Electric Power. All right, so now this looks pretty interesting to me. Look at this. Right at support, going to be oversold. This could potentially bounce. 120 heat index. Wow, that's like you friggin' drop dead. It's so hot, man.
Man, it's been stifling in the south here this last few weeks. Last couple of days for sure, man.
All right, so let's just look at this for a potential trading idea. Now, remember, I said we want to wait for something to reverse before we jump in, because just because it's down big and it's oversold and it's at support doesn't mean it can't keep going lower. So we have to tell ourselves, all right, let's take a look at this here. If I think this is going to reverse, but of course I'm not a psychic, so I don't know for sure if it is or not. But it's set up, okay? It's oversold and it's at support. So that's like the starter is saying, on your mark, get set. But the starter hasn't said go yet. So let's look at a 5-day chart here and just see if we can find a level that looks like it's kind of important. And I would say right off the bat here, I would say right around 83. Where's my thing here? Yeah, so 82, 85. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make this a little bit tighter. I'm going to go down to here. So we're looking at the 5-day chart. Mm-hmm. And notice how we can see the same principles that we see on longer term charts. And that's because when we look at a chart, what we're doing is we're looking at a graphical illustration of investor psychology. So here we're just looking at a shorter term picture. We're looking at people that have a shorter term time frame. So support turns into resistance. Now, I would say, all right, if we get above 81.90, I think there's a good chance that the reversal is underway. So I would say 82. So my idea here would be, if this gets up to 82, that's where I would buy it. So I'm not going to worry about trying to get the absolute best price, but I think there's a good chance there's going to be some resistance around the 82 level. So if we get above that, there's a chance we could keep running, but we could rebound and get up to here and hit resistance again. Support becomes resistance. So I think if we clear that, that would be a sign that the sellers are out of the way and we're going to and there's a good chance we could keep moving higher. So I guess the important thing to remember is you're never going to get the exact bottom or exact top. And it's really just about making money. It's not about being precise. You can't second guess yourself and be like, all right, well, I bought it at 82 and then it went to 85. Man, I could have bought it down around 81. That's like second guessing yourself. You got to just kind of stick to your strategy. But this looks, I mean, look, you don't need to be a chart expert to see this, right? If there's clear support here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else is in this sector here. Sempra, Duke, Dominion, Exelon. Let's look at Con Ed. Wow, I can't even believe that. 120 degrees, man. That's brutal. And even if like you go to like a pool or whatever, I mean, it's like you're jumping into like a pool of hot water.
Dude, mine was 95 at 7 o'clock last night, but I swam in that hot pool. It was nice.
Exelon, let's see that one. Oh, it's on Connecticut. It's not sounding so bad. Nah, not really. See, I mean, these look kind of similar, but nothing. But that AEP really kind of stands out there. Sempra.
You know what, though, Mark, with the taxes, the tax relief you get is worth the sweat. It really is.
Yeah, taxes up here are kind of just getting a little bit crazy. Now, why can't I not find Sempra? I always have this problem. Huh. Oh, Sempra. Am I doing something wrong here? Wish this thing gave the symbols. Sempra. All right, well, forget Sempra. Exelon. We looked at Exelon. So this is, I just want to kind of illustrate that this is a way to look for potential trading ideas. If you look at these sectors and it looks like a sector is going to move, well, just by definition, there's going to be stocks within the sector that move by more. So this could rebound, right? We're at 64, say it rebounds up to here or whatever, 66. I mean, you could trade this, but you could also look within the sector for things that look like they're going to move more.
SRE is Sempra.
Like this. Yeah, this looks pretty tempting. SRE.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, it's that DBA Sempra.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, this here as resistance here became support. Very strange. I have to do a little bit of research to see why these things are getting so crushed. But it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like if you let the market tell you what to do, as opposed to like if you put on CNBC, I haven't heard anyone talking about how the utilities have just been getting crushed. Dominion Energy. Look at this one.
Wow.
This is at support as well. So this is oversold and this is at support. So one of the things you want to do is you got to figure. Look at that. So COVID low here. Then we find support there. Then that turns into resistance there. Like what would be the best bang for your buck, right? You go into these ideas and you figure, right, here's my trigger and here's my sell target. And if let's just assume that things work out, right? Which one of these ideas is going to give you the best return? Like if you just say, hypothetically speaking, all right, well, my trading target here would be this former support level, because we know support can become resistance. And this is up like, say, X, whatever percentage this would be. Well, actually, you could just take a look. So now these aren't ideas or recommendations. I'm just kind of trying to illustrate. So this could be up, say, 4%. Now let's go over to our AEP. Now, what would my target here be? I would probably say I'm going to have my target here at this former support level. And this would be up, if we got in there, would be up 3%. So based on that, you're probably better off with the other one because you're going to have a better return, right? You got to and you know people might say maybe you'll buy both or whatever, but they're going to trade together. Like sometimes people will be like, all right, I'm going to buy Apple and I'm going to buy Microsoft. Well, that's great, but most of the time those two stocks are going to move together, so you're not really diversified. So so anyway, the idea is like if things work out and things get to your target, what's going to give you the best bang for your buck? What's going to be the most efficient use of your capital? So that's the utility sector. So it looks like there's a lot going on there. Let's look at our basic materials sector. Not really seeing too much here. It looks kind of neutral. And then the last sector, I believe, well, actually, you got to look at energy, but we can look at real estate. Big problems are coming in the real estate market, commercial real estate. Like in New York City, like, there's like 20% of the commercial real estate are is empty because people are working from home now.
Morning, man.
All right, let's look at our oil. So this is a good example here of our concept of important price levels, right? Now, this is the oil market. Think about how big it is, but yet somehow we ran into resistance and now we're selling off. See, look at this, right? Oil falls on stronger dollar China. Maybe, I don't know. I think oil is down because there are people who want to sell at a former resistance level and now they're undercutting each other. I don't think this has anything to do with the stronger dollar or what's going on in China. This is a technical move. Demand concerns put pressure on crude oil prices. Let's say, I don't know what on is. Crude oil prices fall amid risk-off tone across commodities markets. I mean, that's just stupid, man. This is like, well, you know what? These people have to come up with something. They can't just be like, oh, well, it's selling off because of it's a technical move.
Well, I think my discussion on Niger was a lot better than that stupid shit. Maddie, you need to watch that video I posted also. You and I trade natural gas, so watch that.
So we can see what was support turned into resistance, right? Resistance. We got clear support down here. And we can look at our energy sector. So this is going to be selling off this morning. But again, we got our price levels, right? I mean, this is going to have natural gas in it because it's not just oil. Let's look at natural gas. Yeah, so natural gas has been kind of range bound for a while here. But we can play the two ways to play the trading ranges. You sell at the top and buy the bottom, or you wait for the breakout. But I would be, if this thing fails at this 280 level, probably make another move lower. And why? Not because of what's going on here, there, or somewhere else. It's because you got people that are sellers that are undercutting each other. So we got resistance around 280 and we got support around 250. Pretty clear levels there. Mastermind. Yeah. The financials are, market is looking pretty weak, but I'm not surprised.
You've been saying it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So this is going to be pretty much now. I think that this level, I mean, it doesn't seem like a big move, but in this sector, 44 cents is a big move, 1.2%. So we're down around here. Let me put this in here. So this is where we are right now. So I would say that this 35.30 level has pretty much been decisively broken. And next level to watch, this could get down to around 33.50, right? I don't really see anything here that really sticks out at me as like, oh, okay, that's where you're going to have your some clear support. One of the things you could play here if it goes lower is this FAZ, F-A-Z. This is an inverse ETF that's leveraged. This is going to trade in the opposite direction of financials by about 3 times as much. So see how it's up 3.6% in the pre-market. So the financial sector is down 1.2%, and this is up 3.6%. Look at what happened here in the bank crisis. This thing blasted off by 50%.
Wow.
Speaking of banks, let's look at the bank. ATFKE. Wow, so this is down 2.5%. Yeah. Well, going to see some weakness. All right, let's take a quick look at the headlines.
Mark, do you still get excited when you're right?
When I write what?
When you're right.
Not really.
Not really. It's just like, another day.
Oh, I'm wrong too, man. So
yeah, but you're right a lot.
Well, since I look at the market, and I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so you kind of look at that, man. To me, that just looks ugly, right?
It is, but the cool thing about this is that the bed has a lock-in bed cover on it, and you can raise and lower it. You can actually drive a full four-wheeler in the back of that thing. It has no extra sidewalls on the side. The bed's cool, but the truck's ugly as hell. And I don't know about these steering wheels, man. These little steering wheels that just have the handles on the side and that's it. I like to be able to get on the steering wheel I'm driving.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of ugly. I mean, like look at like I like watching like on the History Channel Counts Customs, or the guy that does the
counting cars.
Yeah, counting cars. And you look at some of these older cars and they're like works of art, like
That's a
the
triangle.
Pontiac GTO and old Chevys, and you look at this and it's like, I mean, I don't know. In 50 years, are people going to be looking at this and being like, "Wow, that thing's beautiful. I'm going to go drive around in that." I mean,
is that an
I don't know.
obtuse triangle?
What's that?
Is that an obtuse triangle? I don't know. I know my triangles, but I don't remember the exact triangle that is.
I just think it's ugly. I guess it's just me. I don't know. Chinese exports fall at steepest price level. Yeah, China's in trouble. My brother's a investment banker, and he was telling me he was talking to an investment banker that does real estate in China, and this particular person said that things are getting pretty bad over there. Oh, look at this. Sage Therapeutics down 50%. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, but don't they just stop feeding their people and bring the economy back to right? Don't they just shut them in their houses and not worry about it?
Yeah, I mean that's like what was going on over there in COVID, right? Like people were locked in their houses,
welding them into their houses.
All right, so wow, look at this. All right, so what happened? So we had this massive sell-off yesterday, and notice how we're down this morning, but we're not down as much. So if this thing stops going down, even though it's not at a former support level, it's very oversold. So there could be a trade here, right? We could potentially get some kind of a bounce here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just doing a really quick little look here. This is the most oversold on, at least according to this indicator, it's the most oversold the stock has ever been.
Would they have bad earnings?
Well, usually when stuff like this happens, it's perhaps they have an FDA setback. So that's the thing about these biotech companies. I mean, you can make a lot of money, but some of them are just based on 1 or 2 patents or whatever. And if trials go against them, then stuff like this happens. But all that being said, it doesn't mean that you can't trade it. Like I keep saying, we don't really want to worry too much about the news. We're more about looking at the market, right? I mean, you could look at the company in and of itself and the company's numbers and metrics and so forth, or you can look at the market. So the people that look at the metrics are the people that are what we call fundamental investors, but traders look at the market and we look at the market metrics, like, oh, it's oversold. Oh, it's at support. So let's see what happens here. after FDA approves whatever for postpartum depression, but not for major depressive disorder. So I don't know
Dude, I was
why.
watching a video on this thing too. This is a pill that they're going to give women with postpartum depression, which is kind of like an overload of hormones since you've got hormones for two people while you're having a baby. And it's kind of like a natural thing that has to expel from a woman. But they have a shot that you can get, an intravenous thing that you can get while you're in the hospital. But this is now a pill that they can take them home. But the side effects are suicide and blackouts while you have feet. And if you take it if you have sex while you're on it, it can do fetal harm. So you're supposed to use prophylactics while you're taking it and not have sex. It's just I don't know, man. I don't know if they're like making like a new, something that they need to sell a drug for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Postpartum depression is something that just affects every woman. It's a hormone imbalance.
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
4 kids.
Yeah. It's
Trust me.
pretty.
I've been through it 4 times with my wife.
Yeah. There's a story up here in New York where this doctor, I guess she was a prominent doctor. It was a murder suicide. She killed her 4-month-old baby and then killed herself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would imagine that's got to have something to do with it. All right, Brady. All right, everyone. I'm going to hit the road, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I guess I'll see you all tomorrow morning.
Have a great day, guys.